Although I mainly talk about Canon and Sony cameras on this channel, I actually have a fairly long history with Fujifilm cameras as well. My love for Fuji cameras began with the X100F. I had the silver and black copy shown here. It's decked out with the standard accessories such as a thumb grip, soft shutter release button, and aftermarket lens hood. You can't see it in this picture, but I also added a UV filter to complete the weather sealing of the camera. At the time, I was really into landscapes and seascapes, as you can see in the pics to follow. Now, interestingly, when I got the X100F, I saw that there was this select color filter. I remember thinking how gimmicky that was and wondering who in the world would ever use that feature. But it turned out to be one of my favorite things to do with this camera, and you can see that in a few of the shots. I like the X100F so much that I decided to get an X-T1 for a family reunion in San Francisco, even though it was already several years old at this point. I just wanted the option to change lenses. I also purchased the battery grip. It made it the perfect size for me to hold the camera in both the vertical and horizontal position. So at this point you may be wondering whatever happened to these cameras, since I never talk about them on my channel. Well, this is what happened to the X100F. Well, not exactly these waves, but I was taking pictures on the beach in Waikiki. I had the X100F on a tripod and we got lightly splashed by a wave. And I do mean very lightly, like dry off with a paper towel lightly. Since the camera is weather sealed, I really didn't think much of it at the time. Then a few weeks later, I noticed that there was something wrong with the shutter. I took it to Best Buy and the geek said probably a little bit of salt water snuck into the shutter mechanism and began to rust the spring inside. As for the X-T1, I sold it, the battery grip, and the lens to get the camera that we're going to talk about next. I do want to talk about what was for many years my travel setup, and that is the Fuji X-T3, and on it I have the 18 to 55 kit lens. It's 2.8 to 4.0. I did add the battery grip, so you have all the functions are available on the battery grip when you shoot vertically, and also it's able to hold two more batteries here in the tray. And if you know anything about these, I think they're the 126 batteries. I mean, they're tiny and they don't last very long. And I used to love to shoot video with this. So that's one reason why I went ahead and got the battery grip. This camera just takes amazing video. So for a long time, in addition to being my go-to photography camera, it was also my go-to video camera. But I did add the grip just to have 3 batteries. So with this particular grip, you still have 1 battery in the camera body and then 2 in the grip. And then what's really nice is this one charges on its own. So there's a charging port here, and you get a separate charger with a brick and all that. So you actually can charge 2 batteries here in the grip, and then you can charge another battery either in the camera through USB-C, or it came with one of the single external battery chargers. This is an old Canon EFS model. So this is a 55 to 250. It's a variable aperture zoom, but it does have image stabilization. And at the time, this was actually cheaper than the Fuji version. And also, it was just a little bit faster. Let's take a look. A 4.5 to to 5.6. So this was just a little bit faster than the Fuji offering at the time, and I adapted it through the original Fringer adapter. And let me tell you, this is the first generation Fringer, and it works perfectly. The image stabilization, primitive, I guess, face recognition that this camera has, all of that works perfectly. And so this is a very lightweight travel setup. I mean, if you didn't care to take the battery grip, you could take that off and save a good bit of weight there. If you're a subscriber to the channel, you may wonder, well, why wasn't this included in my what's in my camera video that we did at the beginning of the year? I guess there's two things that stopped me from shooting this as my travel kit. First of all, I noticed it doesn't work well in high temperatures. So I took it to Vegas, I think it was like 2022, summer 2022, and it was in the high 90s there, and I noticed that it wasn't taking pictures very well. The video part was working fine, but it wasn't taking pictures very well, and I honestly, I think it was from the heat. And then last summer, we were touring the Amalfi Coast, and again, it was probably in the high 90s. I was trying to take some pictures, and it just wasn't working well. Sometimes it didn't fire. I was trying to use a little bit of fill flash, and it wasn't firing the flash. So I stopped using it for that reason. But also I went ahead and just switched to full frame. The other thing I should mention that I do like about this, unlike the cameras that we're going to review today, this one has dual card slots. And, you know, I'm not a pro photographer or anything like that. It's not that, you know, somebody's going to sue me if I don't have a backup of my, you know, of my photos should a card fail or anything like that. But what I do like is the way you can split things up. So you can shoot like videos to one card and pictures to another. So I really like that. And then also you can use overflow. So let's say you're just shooting a card 1 for everything, and then you can overflow to card 2 when you run out of space. Here are a few travel shots taken in 2018 using the X-T3. So let's go ahead and get to the whole reason why we're doing this video today. I ordered the Fuji camera and we're going to go ahead and unbox it here on camera. Maybe spin it around. Oh. Okay, Fujifilm. The usual stuff that I'll fill out very diligently when we're done with the video. Oh wow, so that is it. Okay. Ah, there it is. Okay, oh, and I even opened it upside up this time. So this is the Fuji X-E5 in silver and black. I can tell you right now, it feels a lot lighter than I thought it would. I have my son's X100 here for comparison. I just picked it up and I can tell you that this one is much lighter. Now, of course, it doesn't have a lens on it, and then also this camera is not weather sealed, so the X100 probably has a little more of a robust build to it. But like all recent Fuji cameras, I mean, it is, I can tell just by looking at it, it's absolutely beautiful. In the top plate. Okay, I'm going to set this aside for a second. Let's see what else it came with. Oh, it came, that's right, this one comes with a nice strap. So not that kind of generic strap that you saw on the X-T3. This one actually comes with a very nice rope strap. That's awesome. It'll keep me from having to buy another one. Let's see, does it come with a charger? I'm probably thinking not. But let's see. Okay, so no charger, and I believe this uses the old battery like the X-T3, but we'll find out. Or will we? Oh, it's strapped in there pretty good. I think it uses the old battery, and interestingly, there's no external battery charger, so I think this is the first Fuji I've purchased that didn't come with a charger. Okay, yeah, so I did not get the lens with it. In case you're not tracking, they came out with a new pancake lens for this, a 23mm f2.8, I believe. It even came in silver to match the color of the camera, and I didn't get it. I guess whatever I clicked on was the kit that didn't include that. So what am I considering getting? There is the TT Artisan 27mm pancake lens. That's also a 2.8. Honestly, I'd like to get the Fuji 16mm 2.8. That's an older lens, but I like the design of it. It's weather sealed, it's all metal, and also at 16mm with the crop factor, it would be a 24mm lens essentially. So that's one of them that I'm looking at. And then Viltrox just came out with a 15mm 1.7. That's getting some good reviews. It's part of their Air series. The only thing though, it doesn't have the aperture ring on it. So I think for this particular camera and for this aesthetic, I want to get lenses that have the aperture ring on it. So I'm kind of leaning towards the TT Artisan and then again the older Fuji 16mm. So we'll see. But the only XF lens I have now is that kit lens that I showed you earlier. So for right now, that's what we'll be using it on. Okay, let's do some size comparisons while I have some other Fuji cameras around. First up, let's compare it to the X-T3. To make somewhat of an apples to apples comparison, I did go ahead and take the grip off and the lens. So this is what it looks like next to the X-E5. You can tell the X-T3 is considerably larger, and it's heavier. Although that would be expected. This was the flagship body when it came out. So, you know, it has magnesium metal build, the weather sealing, like we talked about, the two card slots. So it does have a more robust build to it anyway. As you may or may not know, the X-E5 is not weather sealed. Hey, let's see if we can do a top-down comparison. You can see how much the control structure is a lot different in the newer camera. And of course, you know, one of the things that people love about the Fuji cameras is the film simulation. So this has a film simulation dial like many of the new Fuji cameras have. I guess one of the advantages of the larger size, now that I'm looking at it top down, is just the grip. So you can see at least the X-T3 has a little bit of a grip, and of course with the battery grip it's even more substantial. All of the rangefinder Fujis are known for having a very small grip. Now one thing that I do love about this X-T3 is the viewfinder. I believe this has a 3-point something megapixel eyepiece. And you can see how large it is here. And this little electronic viewfinder obviously is not going to be able to compare to that. Okay, and let's go ahead and compare it to the X100VI. This is my son's. Like I said earlier, unfortunately, this is the only lens I have right now. Honestly, it's a little heavy for this camera. It really makes it nose heavy. The lens is substantially heavier than the body. So definitely, if you're thinking about getting the X-E5, you definitely want to get a smaller prime lens probably to go with it, and you definitely wouldn't want to use any of the bigger zooms with this. Probably something this size is about the max that you would want to use. Okay, and this is the X100VI. This one is really decked out. This is my son's. He has the thumb grip on there. He has the soft shutter release button, peak design cuff, I believe they call it, in blue. The small rig half case that I think is really popular with X100VI owners. This one has a mist filter on there, a mist or a glimmer glass, I'm not sure, and then has the square hood. I think this is kind of a very standard setup that someone with this camera would use. Just comparing the two, the X100VI, as you may or may not know, has the same sensor as an X-E5, so they have the same 40 megapixel sensor with the image stabilization, but you can see that the X100VI is also considerably larger. Now again, this is a weather sealed body, whereas this one is not. The caveat, of course, is that you do have to put a filter in front of the lens on the X100VI to make them completely weatherproof, because when you turn it on and off, the lens goes in and out just very slightly, so there is some opportunity for dust or moisture to get in, but that's easily solvable by putting a filter on front. But yes, it is considerably larger. Now this one also is considerably heavier, so particularly if I put a pancake lens on this camera, definitely this one would be much heavier. And again, you kind of expect that. This is a weather sealed body after all, so it has a more robust build. Now interestingly, I'm noticing that the EVF, at least the housing around it, appears to be much larger. I will have to look that up as to whether or not the internals are a lot different, but just looking at, you know, the EVF here versus this one, I would imagine that this has a much better EVF. The X100VI also uses the larger battery, so I know that's an advantage of this camera. Now just looking at top plate, they both have the exposure compensation. Looks like they have, you know, the same button, same shutter. Now this one, as we talked about earlier, has a film simulation dial. Now this one, they both have shutter speed here, but this one has the ISO setting, so you can pull this up and set the ISO. And then of course this one on the lens, you have an aperture ring. So this one, the X100VI, it's a lot easier. If you're going to shoot full manual, it's a lot easier to shoot full manual with this because there's a dial for everything. And then of course you have your exposure compensation. This exposure compensation dial is a little bit larger though. Let's put it like this just to see. Again, it's kind of an awkward comparison since I don't have a prime lens with the X-E5 yet. That's what we're looking at. Now I'll have to play around with these a little bit more, but I know with the X100VI, of course, you have this hybrid optical viewfinder / electronic viewfinder. The rocker switch here allows you to go back and forth between the two, or set it to a hybrid setting where, you know, you're looking through and it's optical, and when you put your eye up to it, then it pulls up the electronic viewfinder. Since this does not have an electronic viewfinder, not exactly sure what the rocker switches are set for, but I'm sure everything is customizable. Oh, just looking at the bottom too, one of the things I saw in one of the reviews, this does have a Bluetooth button here, so supposedly it makes it easier to transfer pictures from the camera to your phone or tablet, and we'll have to see about that. I know Tony Northrup talks about this all the time. I tend to agree with him. A lot of these photo transfer programs, they don't work very well, and it's everything. It's Canon, Sony, Fuji. They just don't work very well. So we'll test that out and see how well that works in its latest iteration. Okay, and I wonder, I'm not sure I can do this. Let's see if we can get all three together. Let's see. That one there. This one here. And the Fujifilm here. Oh, sorry, and then the X-T3 here. So of the three, naturally the X-E5 is the smallest and lightest. Of these two cameras though, again, it'd be close. It's hard to say without a prime lens on this one. The advantage of the X106 though, obviously, is the 40 megapixels versus, I think this is 26 megapixels. And then the X-E3 has no in-body image stabilization, whereas both of these cameras have it. Okay, I think that concludes our unboxing experience for today. It's the first order of business for me, actually, is just to get a screen protector. I'm a little bit nervous about having that bare screen there, but it is nice though. I mean, it sits perfectly flush with the body, even though it's one of these screens that tilts up and down. And then second order business is buying a lens for it. It really does need a small prime lens. So if you have any questions, please let me know. If you enjoyed any of this content, please consider dropping a like and then subscribe for more future content. We'll see what next adventure awaits us, and I will definitely bring this camera along to take some pictures and show you the results. Mahalo.